Good evening. Tonight, we're witnessing a pivotal moment in the ongoing debate over gun rights and regulations in America. Across the country, gun laws are changing at a pace rarely seen before, with state legislatures and courts at the center of this transformation. As of January 2026, 7 additional states have joined the growing list of those eliminating the requirement for a concealed carry permit, marking a significant expansion of permitless carry laws. In these states, any law-abiding citizen who can legally purchase a firearm is now allowed to carry it concealed in public, no special license, training, or government approval required. This means millions more Americans can now carry a concealed weapon as they go about their daily lives. For gun rights advocates, this is a landmark victory, accelerating a trend that is rapidly reshaping the landscape of public life, personal safety, and the meaning of the Second Amendment across the nation. The debate over the Second Amendment and the right to bear arms has reached a new, critical juncture, with passionate voices on both sides making their case in state houses and on the streets. Permitless or constitutional carry represents one of the most substantial shifts in firearm regulation in decades, raising questions about training, enforcement, and public safety. Supporters argue that moving away from permits treats carrying a firearm as a fundamental constitutional right, not a privilege to be granted or denied by the government. Meanwhile, communities are now confronting tough questions about freedom, security, and responsibility, as they adapt to a new reality where more people may be armed in public spaces. The implications of these changes touch everything from how police officers do their jobs, to the tone of political campaigns, to the everyday sense of safety in neighborhoods large and small. For millions of Americans, these new laws are either a long overdue restoration of individual rights, or a dangerous step that could lead to more violence and tragedy. Understanding this dramatic shift is essential, as it may not only define the present, but also signal the future direction of gun policy and public safety for the entire nation. To truly grasp the significance of this moment in American history, we need to understand how the nation's relationship with firearms has evolved over time. The debate over gun laws is not new, but recent years have seen a dramatic transformation in both public opinion and legal frameworks. Looking back, the history of gun laws in America reveals a complex and often contentious journey. Early regulations were shaped by concerns over public safety, local customs, and the unique challenges of a growing nation. Laws varied widely from state to state, reflecting regional attitudes and priorities. For much of the 20th century, carrying a concealed firearm was not just discouraged, it was heavily restricted in most places. The prevailing belief was that limiting access to concealed weapons would help maintain order and reduce violence in communities. Most states operated under a may-issue system, which meant local authorities had broad discretion to approve or deny concealed carry permits. This often resulted in inconsistent and sometimes arbitrary decisions, with some applicants facing significant hurdles. Over the past 30 years, however, gun rights groups have mounted a sustained campaign to change these laws. Their efforts led to the adoption of shall-issue policies in many states, making it easier for law-abiding citizens to obtain permits as long as they met clear objective criteria. This marked a significant shift, from a system based on government discretion to one that presumed individual rights. The focus moved toward empowering citizens and standardizing the process across jurisdictions. Now, the latest phase in this evolution is the rise of permitless carry. Advocates argue that even shall-issue laws impose an unconstitutional burden on the right to bear arms, and that law-abiding citizens should not need government permission to exercise a fundamental right. Supporters of permitless carry say the Second Amendment itself is the only permit Americans should ever need. They believe that any additional requirements undermine the Constitution's original intent and place unnecessary barriers in the way of personal freedom. The pace of change has been remarkable. Before 2010, only 2 states allowed permitless carry, but in just over a decade, with the addition of 7 new states this year alone, more than half the country now permits citizens to carry firearms without a permit. This rapid transformation is being fueled by a combination of shifting political winds, grassroots activism, and a series of influential court decisions that have redefined the legal landscape. Landmark Supreme Court rulings in cases like Heller, McDonald, and especially Bruin have not only affirmed, but also expanded the scope of individual gun rights. These decisions have set powerful legal precedents that continue to shape state and federal policies. The Bruin decision, in particular, struck down restrictive, may-issue laws, giving new legal momentum to the permitless carry movement and encouraging more states to reconsider their regulations. The result has been a dramatic acceleration of deregulation, with more states moving swiftly to expand gun rights and reduce barriers for law-abiding citizens. Today, the legal and political environment has never been more favorable for this movement. As the landscape continues to shift, the debate over gun laws remains at the forefront of American society, shaping the nation's future in profound ways. The 7 states enacting permitless carry this month are North Carolina, South Carolina, Wisconsin, Nebraska, Louisiana, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. This diverse group shows the broad appeal of the policy. Each law removes the permit mandate for concealed carry, but keeps background checks for firearm purchases from licensed dealers. Most states retain voluntary permit systems for reciprocity with other states. Restrictions remain on carrying guns in sensitive places like schools and government buildings. The specifics vary, creating a complex legal patchwork. Lawmakers, police, and the public are adjusting to a new reality. Carrying a concealed firearm is no longer by itself suspicious. The transition is underway. The presence of concealed firearms in public is now the new normal in much of America. Gun owners must navigate new rules and responsibilities. The data on permitless carry is complex and often contradictory. Supporters cite studies showing no surge in violent crime in states with these laws, arguing that armed citizens deter criminals. Opponents point to research linking weaker gun laws to higher rates of gun violence, especially aggravated assaults with firearms. Economic arguments also play a role. Proponents say permit fees are a barrier to self-defense, while critics warn of the high societal costs of gun violence. Both sides use statistics to bolster their case, but the numbers tell different stories depending on interpretation. The public is left to navigate a sea of conflicting data. The debate over the real-world impact remains unresolved. Permitless carry is deepening America's political divide. In Republican-led states, passing these laws is a conservative litmus test and a victory for individual liberty. In Democratic states, lawmakers are moving to strengthen gun laws in response. The result is a patchwork of regulations, where gun rights change dramatically at state lines. This legal fragmentation challenges law enforcement and complicates interstate travel. Socially, communities are adjusting. Some feel safer, others more anxious. Public spaces and businesses are adapting, with some banning firearms and others welcoming them. Business owners are forced to take sides, sometimes facing boycotts or protests. The move to permitless carry is a massive social experiment. Its long-term effects on community cohesion and public safety are still unknown. The nation's cultural divide over guns is only growing. For police, permitless carry brings new challenges. Carrying a concealed gun is no longer grounds for suspicion in much of the country. Officers must now focus on behavior, not just the presence of a firearm. Some law enforcement leaders support the change, seeing it as empowering responsible citizens. Others, especially in urban areas, worry about increased risks and accidental shootings. The elimination of mandatory training raises concerns about public safety and officer safety during routine stops. Police departments are investing in new training on constitutional law, de-escalation, and threat assessment. Public education is also key. Citizens must know how to interact with police when armed. The relationship between police and the armed public is being redefined. Success depends on clear communication and mutual respect. The stakes for both officers and citizens have never been higher. The Supreme Court's landmark Bruin decision in 2022 dramatically transformed the legal landscape surrounding gun rights in America. This ruling has become a pivotal moment in the ongoing debate over the Second Amendment, setting the stage for a wave of legal and political battles across the country. The court ruled that the Second Amendment protects an individual's right to carry a handgun for self-defense outside the home, not just within it. This interpretation expanded the scope of gun rights and forced states to reconsider how they regulate firearms in public spaces. Under Bruin, modern gun laws must now align with the nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation. Judges are required to look back at the country's past, to determine if current laws are consistent with how firearms were regulated in earlier eras. This decision invalidated restrictive may-issue laws in several states, which had previously allowed officials broad discretion to deny concealed carry permits. The ruling has fueled the growing permitless carry movement, with more states allowing law-abiding citizens to carry firearms without a permit. Gun rights advocates argue that any permit requirement, no matter how minimal, infringes on the fundamental constitutional rights guaranteed by the Second Amendment. They see Bruin as a victory for personal freedom and self-defense. On the other side, legal scholars and gun safety advocates contend that Bruin still allows for reasonable regulation, such as bans in sensitive places like schools and courthouses, and objective licensing standards that apply equally to everyone. As a result, the courts are now filled with a surge of cases testing the limits of Bruin. Judges across the country are grappling with how to apply this new standard to a wide range of gun laws. Lawsuits are challenging everything from assault weapon bans and magazine capacity limits to age restrictions and background check requirements. Each case has the potential to set new legal precedents. The outcomes of these cases will shape the future of gun regulation in America for years to come, influencing not just state laws, but also national policy. The legal environment is dynamic and uncertain, with new developments emerging almost weekly as courts issue rulings and legislatures respond. Both sides, gun rights supporters and gun control advocates, are fighting passionately to define the next chapter of the Second Amendment. The battle for legal precedent is far from over, and its outcome will impact American society for generations. Permitless carry has reignited debate over firearm training. Critics warn that removing mandatory training increases the risk of accidents and misuse. They argue that carrying a gun is a serious responsibility that requires education. Supporters say training should be voluntary, not government mandated. Many gun owners seek out training on their own, and instructors report high demand for voluntary courses. The shift puts more responsibility on individual gun owners to be safe and informed. Gun rights groups are promoting voluntary training and safety education. The question, can a culture of personal responsibility replace mandatory requirements? Permitless carry laws are reshaping America's relationship with firearms. The nation is split, some states deregulate, others tighten controls. This divergence will define our political and cultural landscape for years. The long-term consequences remain unclear. Will these laws make us safer or more vulnerable? The experiences of these 7 states will be closely watched. Americans must confront tough questions about rights, safety, and responsibility. The debate is far from over and every voice matters. The future of gun laws is being written now, one state at a time.